Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about my breastfeeding journey as a first-time mom. I didn't have anybody in my family who breastfed. I didn't know anybody personally. So a lot of what I did was just trial and error. So I want to see basically what I learned, what to do, what not to do, and basically how everything went down and how I was able to breastfeed for 1 year. So let's go. So when I first got pregnant, I had already made up my mind that breastfeeding was something that I wanted to do after doing my research for two reasons. One, I would save a lot of money. As you guys know, that formula is really expensive. The small cans like this are $20 each. I can't imagine paying that much money. Babies eat a lot, so if I had did formula, I would probably be buying that like multiple times a week. The second reason why I wanted to breastfeed was because of the bonding experience. I saw a lot of people speak of that online, and I was like, that's something that I wanted with my baby. So those were the main reasons why I wanted to, and all the motivation that I needed. So initially, after I had my first baby, at the hospital, I put him on as soon as he was born, and he latched right away. The doctor came in and was like, wow, oh my goodness, like he's doing such a great job. He's latching really good. He has the good suckling motion. And I was like, yes, oh my gosh, are you serious? Like, wow, because sometimes baby don't get it right away. So I was really happy. However, a couple hours passed. Of course, the nurse comes in and they document how many times your baby has had wet diapers, how many times he's had poop diapers. So at the time when the nurse first initially came in, my baby didn't have any wet diapers. He only had two poop diapers. So the nurse was like, okay, I'll come back in to check in, but he needs to at least have had a wet diaper by the next time I come in. So I was like, okay, no problem. I continued feeding my baby. However, she came back in and he didn't have a wet diaper. So she was concerned. And then when she told me that she was concerned, I started getting concerned. I was like, okay, what's going on? And she had just basically said, my milk probably isn't in all the way, because if it did come in, he would have had a wet diaper by now. So I was like, okay, no problem. I'll just continue feeding him. Maybe I just need to feed him some more. So I did just that. However, she came back in and he still didn't have a wet diaper. So at that point, my husband was like, all right, you've already been here a while. The hospital's going to dismiss you and they'll keep the baby here if he doesn't have a wet diaper. So I was like, oh my gosh, are you serious? Like, those are all the words I needed to hear, because once he told me that, I was like, okay, whatever I need to do to get my baby and myself home together, I am going to do. So I did end up giving my son formula along with my breast milk. So I gave him the formula, but I still did latch him on. But as soon as I gave him the formula, he had a wet diaper. Like, he went pee. So I was like, wow, my milk clearly is not in. So I continued to give him the formula whenever he was hungry and needed to feed. And he continued to have those wet diapers. So soon after, my baby and we were released from the hospital. But I didn't stop breastfeeding all the way, because initially they did tell me, along with the lactation nurse, is that the baby probably just didn't get the true milk. What he got was the colostrum, which is the thick yellow substance, which is filled with nutrients, and that continued to breastfeed and put the baby on, and that my milk will soon come in. So I did do that. I continued to put him on, and I noticed milk coming out. This time it wasn't like the thick yellow substance, it was actually white. So I was like so happy. I was like, yay, my milk came in. It was like maybe the next day, because when I went home, they ended up giving me like a little care package with about a couple, like 4 formulas inside the bag with diapers and wipes, and I only ended up using 2 of those bottles that they sent home. So it was quickly soon after that my milk came in, so I just ended up not using any of the formula, and I continued breastfeeding him. he was hungry all the time. They said, okay, the baby will probably usually feed about every 2 hours, but that wasn't the case with my baby. He was feeding all the time. I was like, oh my gosh, like, he's hungry all the time. And you know, newborns, they only cry for two reasons: if they want to be held and if they're hungry. So whenever he would cry, I would pick him up. He would still cry. I'm like, okay, he's hungry. So I would feed him. So I was feeding him like every day nonstop. I would fall asleep with him feeding. Like, I didn't want to lay in the bed with him nursing. So like the first couple of months, like, I just slept on this couch right here behind me, breastfeeding him. Like, it was like a lot. Like, my husband, he didn't want to leave me by myself, so he was right here sleeping on this couch with me. Like, him and I just sleeping on the couch breastfeeding the baby. Like, it was a lot. And sometimes I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. Like, I just wish my husband could help feed him and just, you know, warm up the bottle and give him some milk. But he couldn't because I was breastfeeding. So it was just the baby on me 24/7. So that was that. I quickly had my first appointment with the baby, and my doctor did the weigh-in, and my baby had lost a lot of weight. When my baby was born, he was 7 pounds 2 ounces. However, when I had my first initial appointment, he was now 6 pounds and a couple ounces. I don't know the ounces exactly, but he had clearly lost significantly 1 pound and a couple ounces, which was a lot, and the doctor was really concerned. So I was like, oh my gosh. I got really like upset, not upset, more so sad and kind of disappointed in myself, because I already had that situation in the beginning with him not getting enough. So I'm like, okay, like, what am I not doing? Am I not eating right? Like, am I not drinking enough? Like, what am I doing wrong? Is my body not working? And she had just said, no, it's fine. Your milk is just probably low. Like, your supply is low. So she recommended different supplements you could take. Like, it was like this special tea you could drink, different pills, and like bars you could eat. And then also certain foods that would help with their milk supply. So she recommended those things along with supplementing with the formula. So I did have to supplement with formula. So I did bring that back out. However, I didn't want to, but I'm like, I'm doing what's best for my baby. I just want my baby healthy, and that's what he needed at the moment. So I did end up supplementing with formula. However, I did breastfeed him still. So when I went home, I would breastfeed him. And then once I would feel my breasts that they were empty, I would then give my baby formula. So then he would be full and satisfied. You know, I could tell when he was full and satisfied. Like, he wouldn't cry. Like, he would no longer have closed fists. His hands would be open and relaxed. They wouldn't be closed. So I would continue to do that. Whenever he wasn't breastfeeding, I would pump so my milk would come in. They say the more you feed, the more you pump, the more milk you'll have come in. So I would breastfeed him. If he was still hungry and I was empty, I would give him the formula, and then I would pump. And then I also ate oatmeal every day, and I would drink lots of water. Whenever the baby was feeding on me, I would drink water. I never did do the special tea or the special bars or whatever. I just strictly did lots of water and oatmeal every morning for breakfast. Soon after, I found myself not using the formula anymore, and I just only breastfed, because he was, at that time, he was full and satisfied after I breastfed him and no longer needed the formula. Like, I could tell, like, he was not crying. He wasn't having closed fists, so I no longer needed to use the formula. However, I did continue to pump whenever he wasn't breastfeeding. And I liked pumping only, I didn't like it, but I only liked it because I could see how much I was getting. Whenever I would feed the baby, I never knew exactly, okay, how much was coming out. So whenever I would pump, I could see like the accurate number of ounces. That was always great to see. I had my next follow-up appointment, and at that appointment, he did gain all of his weight back, which I was so happy. The doctor did say I was doing great, and just to continue whatever I was doing, which was the water, the oatmeal, and the pumping. So at that point, My milk was all the way in. I had a full supply. But initially in the beginning, my milk didn't come in. I had low supply, which is all things that most moms deal with, which I didn't know in the beginning. I mean, I did know, but I didn't know that would happen to me. So of course I was a little devastated, but I didn't let those things discourage me. And I think knowing that breastfeeding was going to be hard and hearing people's stories online about breastfeeding and their struggles made me realize that I'm not the only one feeling this way, and that it's a part of the journey, which allowed me to continue breastfeeding along with the two reasons I mentioned before: the money, saving money, and the bonding experience. I loved breastfeeding him because as a first-time mom, I wanted to hold my baby all the time. So whenever I breastfeed my baby, I would hold him. Whenever I would have family or friends come over to hold him or to visit, like, they would hold him, but then at some point I would get like a little jealous. I'll be like, okay, I want my baby back. But I never had to ask for my baby back, because whenever my baby was crying or wanted to be fed, they knew, oh, he needs his mom, let her go breastfeed. I didn't have to say, oh, here's the bottle, or they didn't ask to feed him because I was the only one feeding him. So that worked out really perfect. Like, I spoiled my baby. I held him all the time. And I didn't have to worry about, sharing him as much, which is kind of like silly to say, but it was true. I was obsessed with my baby. I still am. I still hold him right now as much as I can. Yep, I'm really that obsessed, but yes. So, I wanted to breastfeed for a whole year. I did end up breastfeeding until 11 months because I was working my way up until his first birthday. When I decided to wean, I had initially stopped cold turkey for one day, but then I realized, okay, I don't need to stop cold turkey. I need to do like little by little. So I ended up doing it halfway. I should have did it more little by little, like lesser, but I ended up doing like breastfeeding him only in the morning and then bottles the rest of the day, which is something I would not recommend. I did not know at the time, and I was in excruciating pain. It was really painful. And I ended up doing that for about a week. When I didn't put him on the breast, I would give him just the bottle with breast milk. And after about a couple of days, he no longer wanted to latch and be on the breast, and he only wanted strictly the bottle. So it's like I couldn't just go back. So at that point, like, as my milk was drying up, my breast was in excruciating pain. It was hurting, and it was really painful. And all I could do was sit in the bed and cry and put hot rags on it. And eventually the pain stopped about, I think, 5 days, almost a week. It seemed like it was really long, but I think it was about 5 days, but it felt like a week. But it eventually went away, and then the milk eventually dried up and went away. But if I could do it all over again, I would not do it that way. I would continue to breastfeed him on the breast and give him a bottle maybe like only at night, and then maybe 2 bottles and 3, 4, work my way up instead of doing that, because initially it shouldn't really hurt that bad when weaning, or it shouldn't hurt at all, period. But it hurt because I didn't do it the right way. So he was about 11 months and change, and he was fully weaned. So by his birthday, he was taking a sippy cup, because we was doing bottles in sippy cup, but he was on the sippy cup. So yeah, that's my journey. A lot of trial and error, like I said before. Go ahead and comment how long you've been breastfeeding, how long you want to breastfeed, your journey, any questions you may have. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.